Hey, good morning, everybody. So it is Sunday morning. I'm being a little quiet because I got a lot of my family who are still sleeping. Sunday, I like to make morning waffles. So I figured what I would do is kind of bring you along for the ride on using raw milk to make butter and cheese. So the butter is going to be pretty fast, and I'll be able to get that one out more than likely first. The cheese usually takes a few days, so this is going to be sort of a step-by-step process on that one. But you know, to be honest, I'm using raw milk in this video. I personally don't agree with what the FDA says as far as the hazards of it. The study that I've seen just really counteract what the FDA says. I think my personal take is the FDA is concerned about storing it for long durations, and maybe in that time raw milk could go bad. But reality, I'm going to show you that at least in the stages that I do, unless you just unfortunately got an unlucky batch from a cow, which we've been drinking milk from cows and goats and everything for thousands of years, that if you do happen to get that one thing, maybe it would be bad and that's their concern. But I'm going to show you how raw milk doesn't go bad and all the uses that you can do with it. So the first step I've already done as far as getting prepared to make this is I turn the milk upside down. Now I'm going to kind of zoom in here as bring you in. The phrase cream rises to the top is still in effect. So here is the cream level right up here. This might be a little hard to see, but there's the cream level. So I'm using, although it's upside down, I'll go ahead and turn the label around so you can see here in California, this is the only company that I have seen locally create raw milk for the masses. So I'm going to go ahead and go to time lapse here because the only thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the bottom, put a few holes in the top, and then usually it takes a minute or two for all the milk to get to the drain out, because at a certain point I'll come over here and start paying attention when the cream gets very close to getting out, and then I'll just close it and put the cream into my mixer, and then we'll make butter using the cream in my mixer. All right, let's go. We're getting to probably the hardest part of this, and I'm not going to bore you with all the exact, with the amount of time that it takes to do this. I'm going to go ahead and cut it down to the very little, but hardest part is trying to see basically when you stop seeing water, milk dripping out and you start seeing cream. Because then once you get to that point, then you just close it up, and then I'm going to move it on over. So I'm now going to be quiet and keep looking. That looks like it now. All right, let's move on to the next step. All right, so for making cheese, this part, basically we put the lid on top. I'm going to put this away, and we are just going to wait a couple of days. You keep it out. You keep it out and in normal outside temperature. And then we're going to go ahead and let's move on over to doing the butter. So I need to get the camera set up. All right, so it's Tuesday afternoon. The cheese curds have separated from the whey, so it's time to go ahead and strain it. And just to kind of show, it looks like some additional cream kind of rise to the top while I was separating. You can see the cream line right here. But yeah, now we just need to strain the whey from the curds, and we'll do that on the next step. So next we're just going to pour the curds in the whey into I got a stainless steel pot with a cheesecloth double layered and 2 zip ties to tie it up and hang it to let it continue to drain. I'll show you what I mean here in a sec. So we'll go ahead and dump. Let me see if we can do a good sort of the creamy part on top. I'm going to go ahead and just dump everything into the pot here. Oh, this splashes everywhere. This is definitely not a clean process. There it goes. Gonna have to clean up everything after this. Pretty simple. Now we just start pulling the cheesecloth up and getting it in all different angles, because when you tie it up you don't want to have any area slipping through. And I like to use zip ties. I just find it easier to use. A little challenging at first to kind of get it around this wrap, but once you got this on, it's pretty easy. And the key thing when hanging it is you want to have where it kind of ties down as low as you can, or it's going to really depend on the kitchen. For my kitchen, I got average size gap between the counter and the cabinets. So there's another reason why I like using zip ties, is I can kind of adjust the length of the holes, of the loops, to control the drip, or correction, to control the distance from the countertop. And then from this point on, we wait for 24 hours. And let me just give you kind of a zoom in here. Nothing special here. You know, it is hanging from my cabinet door. But it lightens up pretty quickly too. So I haven't found any degradation to my cabinet door use. So we'll be back tomorrow, and see here, it's about 4 in the afternoon. We'll check in at 4 in the afternoon tomorrow and finish up making cheese. Okay, and here we are. You can see the pouch is a lot smaller, and we got quite a bit of whey here. A little bit of cheeses in there too. But for now, what I'm going to do before I proceed to the next step is I'm going to put a lid on this, put it into the refrigerator, because we're going to do something a little extra special that I normally don't do. Usually at this point I'll usually dump the whey out because I don't use it that often, but I'm going to show you one of the things that I do rarely. Okay, I got everything set up now, so let's go ahead and take down the curds. Open her up, and we're just going to transfer the curds into this, because I'm going to use this to mix up the final ingredients, which you can see here. I'll discuss them here in a second. Just put the cheese curds right on in, without making too much of a mess. Now I'm going to go and just wash this immediately, so I'm going to put this down. Pick up some of the curds that I'm already dropping. All right, so it's pretty simple after this point. For me, at this point, you could just put in some salt and be done with it. I personally like adding um, 1 teaspoon of 1 teaspoon of salt, and this is pink Himalayan salt, and then 1 tablespoon of the Temecula Olive Oil Company's fresh basil flavored olive oil. This company, I'm extremely glad they're local. It's high quality stuff and great tasting. Like, I'm not even going to attempt to describe the quality. You just something you have to try for yourself. But if you're interested in a good quality olive oil, highly recommend you check them out online. Or if you're in the SoCal area, they have stores around the region, and it's definitely something worth going to their testing room for. Every location has a testing room. Highly recommend you go and test their different flavors of olive oils and vinegars. And I just mix until I don't see any more pink and I don't see any more sort of green. Let's see if we can get. Oh, this cheese smells delicious. And that appears, just kind of making sure that it's mixed up everywhere. I'm not seeing any more pink or any more green. So now I'm just kind of making sure I'm getting everything from all the different corners. And once we do that, I go ahead and stick it into the, I'll go ahead and transfer it over to the final container. 1 second. So after some peer review of the cheese, aka my mother-in-law, she recommends a little bit of salt. So I'm going, 1 second, Chico. I'm just going to finish putting this in here. Put in just a little bit more salt. So that's now about 1.5 teaspoons. So I recommend you begin with 1 teaspoon. And then if you want a little bit more salt, go ahead and add 1/2 teaspoon at a time. Until you find the exact flavoring desire you want with the salt. But usually the basil makes it taste pretty delicious. Then it's just about finding the right salt content usually. This consistency is almost that of cream cheese, but not quite. If I would have let it hang, and maybe if I would try to squeeze it out a little bit more, I could have got a little bit more dry. But this consistency makes it easy for putting it on whatever. All right. So let's go ahead and just put it into the container, and we will be finished. Okay, so that concludes making this cheese. Now, it was a couple-day process, if you recall. Put the raw milk upside down, let the cream rise to the top, and then the next day I drained all the milk and cream, separated it, put the cream into one, made some butter, put the milk, let it sit for 2 days for the whey to go ahead and separate from the curds, and then after that, put it in the strainer, let the whey strain away from the curds, and then put the curds into into another container, mix it up with the olive oil and salt. Remember, put it to the salt content that you desire, and highly recommend that Temecula Olive Oil Company. They are just delicious. Absolutely worth trying if you're in the SoCal region. Again, they're in more places than just Temecula. You can even buy them online. But one more process I'm going to show you what to do with the whey if you choose to do this next step. But I got to get a couple of things, and so that's going to take probably at least until the weekend before I can do. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.